Hi everyone, welcome back to Burnout Help, Stress and Burnout First Aid. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're not too stressed. And if you are, I hope you're managing it well. Today I want to speak to you about burnout, which I have already in some previous videos. But what is a burnout? A lot of my clients want to know if they are in a burnout or not. Many people want to know, is there a clear way to know if I am in a burnout? And my answer is always the same, unfortunately, which is there's no clear way to know if you're in a burnout. But chances are pretty good that if you're asking about it, if you're asking yourself, am I in a burnout? You probably are. And in the end, it's not that important to have one very clear threshold. It's not really useful. I know people like to have that. They want to know. But again, it's not that useful because if you are suffering, if you're experiencing symptoms, if you're asking the question, am I in a burnout? As I just mentioned, that means you are suffering, you are experiencing something very strongly. And whether you're 2 points away from the threshold or not makes no difference. You need to do something. You need to change something in your life because you are already suffering. So, a burnout, what is it? It's a state of complete physical and emotional exhaustion. That's the simple, short definition. It's usually applied in the context of work, but in my own experience, it doesn't have to be just work related, it can be life related. It's usually it's usually a logical progression from chronic stress and nervous system dysregulation. Once in a while, it happens because something traumatic in your life just happened. So that can trigger a state of burnout. But usually, it's consistent chronic stress, chronic nervous system dysregulation that's starting to take its toll. What are the symptoms of burnout? Well, there can be many different symptoms of burnout, but usually burnout is a state of absolute freeze, absolute shutdown. So it's your nervous system that's been stretched, being hyper, being activated, being very stressed, chronically stressed. So you're still functioning in that state, but you're functioning in an unsustainable way. And after a while, your nervous system, your organism decides that's enough, shut down, boom. So people are usually extremely exhausted, extremely exhausted. Some people cannot barely get out of bed. They don't sleep well. Your digestive system has been impacted, was already impacted before, but now more strongly. There's potentially pain in the body. You're feeling numb, forgetful, hard to think, brain fog, and quite a few other symptoms depending on the person. So, burnout is not a nice state to be in. And very often, people who are in that state, they will start to question the future. Because when you're in that state, it's very difficult to be optimistic. It's very difficult to see you're so exhausted, the world has suddenly become quite dark. So it's hard to see, how can I get back on my feet? Will I ever be able to get back on my feet? Will I ever be able to function normally? It's pretty strong stuff. So do whatever you can to not get to that point. I got to that point twice in my life, and I tell you, it was no fun. But the good news is you can get out of it. And most people do. You just have to look at certain things in your life and be willing to change, be willing to transform. Perhaps the last question that I'm often asked about burnout: am I at risk for burnout? So again, many people want to know, is there a test I can take to see if I'm at risk of burnout? Just like, am I at risk for getting cancer or whatever? For burnout, is as far as I'm aware, there's no clear test to see if you're at risk, but we know that if you are chronically stressed, if you have a lot of challenges in your life, a lot of things can contribute to experiencing a burnout. But what's also important to know is it depends on each person. So you have three categories of three elements really that play a role in deciding whether you're at risk of burnout. One is what is happening at work, what is happening in your life. Some people are just experiencing a lot of crisis, a lot of really bad luck or bad situations. Sometimes one is enough. Some people have a bad boss at work or a bad colleague or not enough autonomy or they're not being given enough recognition or not enough purpose. All these things play a role, but that's just one category. It's what we call the external triggers. And then there's another category, which is you yourself, your history, your patterns, your nervous system sensitivity. All of this makes up who you are as a person, and that plays a big role in how you're going to respond to the stress in your life. And then the third category is also about you, but it's more about your values, your support system, your friends, your connections, your health in general. If you are somebody who has a great support system and you've been great health all of your life, you've got good health basics and fundament, then you're going to be more resourceful. And that's going to impact whether you actually get a burnout or if you do get one, your capacity to get out of it. As does category number two, which is, if you remember, your programming, your belief system, your thought patterns, and your nervous system sensitivity. And in some cases, for some people, your history of trauma. So all of this comes together and will play, obviously, a very important role in deciding whether you're going to get into a burnout. And if you do have a burnout, whether you're going to be able to recover very quickly or whether it's going to take longer and it's going to be more difficult. Good. So as usual, I hope this was useful for you. Thanks for watching and see you soon.